Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Vengreso Live. Now, I'm kind of laughing because I have a special guest today, and I told her, listen, during the countdown, they can't see you, they can't hear you, so that's a good time to scratch your nose, which is exactly what I was doing when we had the hiccup during the countdown, and probably y'all saw me scratching my nose there for a minute, but it's live, these things happen. So welcome to today's Vengreso Live. Let us know in chat, where you are calling in from today. I am super excited. Usually I bring on people I already know, and I can just like wing off a introduction because we've been friends for like ages. But today I have a new friend on our call. It is Miss Cathy Rowell. She is the VP of Global Partner Programs and Enablement at Genesys. And Genesys is a SaaS vendor focused on experience as a service. I'm not going to tell you how many years of experience. This is what we were talking about before in the green room, but lots and lots of years of experience, and 20 of those are in sales and channel enablement. She's also a big contributor, actually, to the Sales Enablement Society. So please give Cathy a virtual welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be here. And as we were talking about, lots of experience. I think my comment to you was my career started when dinosaurs were still roaming the earth. So
exactly. I love it. I feel that way sometimes, especially in the morning.
Exactly.
So, one of the things we were talking about is you've been hiring remotely, and that's really what we're going to talk about today is remote hiring best practices. You've been hiring remotely for over 10 years. So this whole, hiring from home, hiring without meeting the person face to face, that's really nothing new for you.
It's not. And, I got a lot of questions about when people moved home for the pandemic. It's like, oh, how does this change for you? I said, it hasn't changed for me. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been practicing for a pandemic my whole life.
Yeah, exactly.
So it hasn't changed, but, there's a difference to hiring people remotely and hiring them in person. Because before I became a remote manager and a remote leader, I was also in the office. So I have both experiences.
Well, and you're super hiring remotely because like for most of COVID, you were in your place in Vermont, which is super remote.
Super remote.
You were like super remotely hiring.
Exactly. Go to Canada, turn around, and that's pretty much where you'll find me.
Exactly. So you mentioned, before COVID, obviously you were still hiring remotely, but there was an opportunity to meet face to face. Obviously now a lot of the interviewing and a lot of the hiring is being done, via Zoom or StreamYard or Teams or, some kind of virtual interface. So for people who are very reliant on like their gut instinct, meeting a person, getting a vibe off of them, how do you do it? How do you hire when that vibe, that person to person, face to face vibe is not really there?
So I think you can still get that vibe. So one of the things that I do is I kind of stalk the person. So I go and I look at their LinkedIn profile, right? I want to know who they are. I could check out their LinkedIn profile, see what they're doing. I Google them. I've always Googled everyone I'm ever talking to about hiring. I Google them to see what comes up. And you'd be surprised what comes up about some people, and some things you don't want to know and some things you can find out. But you can kind of tell a little bit more about the person, right? So I look for specific things about a person. Are they doing things outside of work with a volunteer effort, with charity? Are they an athlete? I'm an athlete, so that speaks to me. Also tells me that they could be a team player, depending on what kind of an athlete they are, and that helps me. So I look for those kind of cues, and I know that going into an interview situation. And so you still can get that vibe. One of the things, I'm pretty transparent. I'm a pretty authentic person. You can see behind me, I have teddy bears in the window. I have like things on the shelf. I don't use a virtual background ever. I I don't like that because it's not who I am.
Right.
In Vermont, my office is literally in a closet. So there's tons of coats behind me. There's tchotchkes on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
It's an authentic thing. And so you can start to make someone feel at ease. If you can be authentic, they can be authentic. It is harder remotely, but you can still get that vibe and start to build a relationship with that person based on what you found out from not only checking their resume, because the resume doesn't tell you anything about someone, but go and look at those other things and see what you can find out about someone in advance and then bring that up, right? Don't just talk about work in the interview.
Yeah. Now you have to be a little careful too, I think. We were talking about that a little bit earlier in the green room too. Like you can't get too personal in an interview, but you can get a really good sense of who the person is, which actually, I'm going to skip a question and I'm going to come back. But, you know, what do you do now that you've got, you know, your team, you've got your remote team, you're not able to meet for the annual SKO or, you know, company live company event. So what do you do to keep that realness?
Yeah. So, you know, we are all in sales.
Yeah.
We're relationship builders. That's what we do. Right? We build relationships with people. And when you hire a team, it's no different. You're building a relationship with that team. So a couple of things that I do with my team is I have a weekly staff call, and someone different on my staff every week has to take that staff call and lead it. So they are responsible for the agenda, timing, and the thing that we start with every week is 5 minutes of fun. So this is how we get to know our team members outside of work. So we've done things like sending in pictures of us as a baby, and you have to guess who's who. We have done what's your favorite vacation spot. We've done if you could be a superhero, who would you be? We have done 2 truths and a lie. Yeah. Right. So those are the kinds of, and the team comes up with it. I don't come up with that. I take my turn when it comes around to me, but we all take turns. And so I think that's a way to keep the team engaged. Yeah. And get to know them on a personal level. You're right. You can't be too personal. There's lots of things you can and you can't ask legally. We all know that from an HR perspective when you're talking to someone in an interview, but you certainly can get to know them, because to me, I'm interviewing that person to hire them remotely, not just because they can do the job. They have to fit with my team. Yes.
Yes. And on one hand, you'd think, oh, well, if everyone's remote, then personalities don't matter quite as much. And it's probably easier to get a team
matter more.
functioning. But that's not necessarily true.
I think they matter more.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I love the idea of, I love the team building exercises. And I love the fact that you have a different team member, because, and your team members, what are their roles?
So I have channel enablement and partner programs. So I have program managers. I have teams who are working with partners to onboard and enable our partners directly. I have Partner Academy, which is our training platform. So I have course designers and course developers and designers. I kind of have the gamut on my team. I have people who don't like to be talking to people. I have people who don't like to be on video. But for that team call, you're on video and you have to take your turn.
I think that is so important and we've got that now. Once in a while, like show up and go, listen, guys, I'm working out or I'm having a really bad hair day. Hello, how are you? And I'll turn my thing off. But I think
that's okay.
Yeah. And our company has that too. Like when we do Zoom meetings, everyone's on camera at least part of the time, because I think it is important to see the person and to see their reactions, and also to make sure that they're not just sitting there doing their email the whole time.
Right.
And I also like the fact that you said, you know, not everyone is super comfortable. Like, obviously, if you've got a team full of salespeople, they're probably fine being on camera and they're fine talking because that's what they're used to. But I love the fact that you've got team members who are used to being behind the scenes, and yet what a great skill set to nurture within them, to bring them, you know, forward and on camera.
It's not something easy. It's I have one person on my team who just hates it. And so, you kind of just have to keep nudging her. And she's getting much better, and she's getting more confident, and it's much better. But, the video thing comes in really important, I think, when you're interviewing too, because you need to be able to, and I literally had a candidate who came to an interview with me and never turned on her camera. So what did that do to me as a hiring manager? It put me off, right? Because I can't now see her reactions. I can't read the body language when I'm asking the questions. I can't tell things about how she's reacting when I'm asking questions, or he, in this case, it happened to be a she. So it just is really difficult if you have someone who joins a Zoom but doesn't go on camera, and they're interviewing for a position. It turned out this person did this with everyone she interviewed with. She never turned on her camera.
Wow.
Which I thought was really strange. So that's something important, and I will tell anyone who's actually out there interviewing for a job, please be aware of your background when you're interviewing and you're on camera.
Well, that's true too, right? You've got the naked spouse walking by, or
I've had some interesting calls. Let's just say. So just be aware. It's fine. And I've told you I'm a pretty authentic person, right? I don't believe in the Zoom backgrounds. I want to be an authentic. I want people to see the real me. That makes people, I think when you're interviewing, it puts people at ease a little more. In my Vermont house, when my office is literally in a closet, so it's full of coats behind me, tchotchkes on the shelf, and people can relate, right? You now have something you can have a conversation about, or you can have, they understand I'm a real person, and oh, look, she has coats behind her, and it's okay. But you also have to be aware of what your background is.
What your background is. We've got one of our programs is selling with video. And so a couple things to point out. It's really interesting. One of our companies, they divided their learners between the hunters and then the farmers. So the hunters being the, outbound sales prospecting, new accounts folks, and then the farmers being more of the account management folks. And I just assumed that our hunters were going to nail it. We're going to be the ones that were out there and like comfortable with video and doing an awesome job. And I have to say, the farmers group really surprised us. And I don't know why that is. Certainly the hunters were more comfortable being on camera and being on Zoom, but our farmers, our account management folks, are really coming through. They're really shining. So that actually surprised me a little bit. But one thing you said earlier about not turning the camera on, I know some people are afraid of the camera, but if you were going to meet someone at the office,
face to face,
wearing a paper bag over your head.
Exactly. It's kind of equivalent, right? So it's a challenge.
I don't get, or wearing, the other thing is like the hoodie. And like, why do you think you would never go, I would assume, depending, I guess, on what you do and who your client is, but you would never go and do a site visit like in a hoodie and ripped jeans.
Right. Why I don't care if you're wearing ripped jeans because I can't see them. So that's fine with me, but put on a nice shirt. Right?
Exactly.
So there are some tips out there, but for sure. And I know part of the reason we kind of ended up in this talk is I commented on one of Mario's posts that one of the questions I always ask in an interview, doesn't matter, what do you want to be when you grow up? So that's going to tell me about the person from a professional perspective, but also from a personal perspective. I'm going to get to know that person pretty well asking that question.
Right.
And I've had the gamut of answers. I've had, I want to be a CLO. I want to be, I just want to do this. I want to be a learning and development person for the rest of my career. Really?
Really?
That's an okay answer. I'm fine with that because I know I've said that to one of my managers a long time ago. I just want to do my job. Don't bother me. And that's an okay answer too. But you can learn a lot about someone asking that type of question. It throws people off guard because we all think we're already grown up.
Right.
I'm here to tell you, as long as I've been doing this, I'm still not grown up, and I
Right.
still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
We got all
Except
those
retired
years behind us, and we're still not grown up yet.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good question
I love
to
it.
ground people and to get some good information.
Well, and then you can see, because you're going to get the people who, to your point, well, I've always wanted to be in learning and development. I have no other desire or dream in life. And then, and they may, that might be a true answer, but you'll see in the excitement around the answer, or the folks who are like, I love learning and development. I'm always going to do it, but I have this passion. I love singing, jazz on the weekends, right? And then they light up. And what's cool about that is you can see the passion with, speaking of being real. Hey, Kitty.
Being real.
Being real. I love it. But that passion, you're like, okay, I see your passion, and I can see that you're passionate about singing, and that's awesome. And you should totally do that. And I can see how you might be able to bring some of that creativity and passion into this job. So I would encourage folks who are being interviewed, if your interviewer is smart like Cathy and asks the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, be honest about other things outside of work that you're passionate about.
Absolutely.
Maybe not, maybe microbrewing, I guess. I don't know.
I'm good with that personally, but
Vermont, obviously, right? So we've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but how have hiring practices changed, and what else do you do that's maybe a little bit different now than before?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because I actually have doubled the size of my team in 3 months. So, and I'm actually planning to go and do that again. So it's a challenge to try and find the right people.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot about your connections. So I'll reach out to the people that I have in my network and say, hey, I need this person. Do you know anybody?
Nice.
So that's been a lot of how I've brought in some really great A players onto the team.
Yeah.
But I've also brought in complete unknowns.
Yeah.
Who my recruiting team has gone and said, here's all the 42 people who are applying for this job. And I'm like, no. And then they don't bring me the right kind of candidate. And so I have gone through and literally spent time going through all 42 candidates and saying, well, I actually want to talk to this person. That's actually worked really well for me. And I've actually just hired 2 fantastic people, never on my radar, not in my network, fit in the team immensely well. And again, it's about going out and finding out who they are as people. And then letting my team also have a say. So that we talked a little bit about how do you keep your team engaged. That's another way to do it. So my team has been interviewing these new people to say, are they fitting on the team? Are they not? And I think that's really helped as well. So that's a little bit different than anything I would have done before. But it really, because I've been doing the remote hiring for a long time, I didn't have a lot of change because of the pandemic. It's really been reaching into my network has been the big change. And because I've had to.
Yeah. Because we're not meeting people at events as much, at conferences, as trade shows. And that's always a great place to meet potential hires and think about the future. But we don't have that. So what do we have? We have LinkedIn. And I wanted to say thank you to Melody. She said, I'm not grown up yet, but I'm okay with that. Or I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, but at this stage and place, I'm okay with that. I think a lot of us are shifting right now. And first of all, congratulations to Genesys during COVID and a pandemic, growing so rapidly that you've tripled? You said tripled the size?
I've doubled, and I'm about to add. Not quite double again, but almost.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
And I love the fact that, now we really, with remote working, we don't have boundaries anymore. Like literally we don't have borders anymore. Half of our team is in Colombia. We've got folks in the Philippines. We have folks in Canada. We have folks in Europe. There's, we're an international company, even though we service mostly the US, but there's no borders anymore as far as hiring. So you've got such a rich pick of potential employees. So what do you do? We know you Google them and find out what they really are like. Yep. Obviously, you've got the resumes, you've got LinkedIn to check them out. How many, just curious, I'm out of curiosity, and for any job seekers out there, pay attention. How many folks have you seen like with a video resume or have any video online? Because I would
not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I have not seen that. I've actually started to see some very creative resumes, which is great, but I have not seen a lot of video resumes come across, and I'm a little bit surprised by that.
Yeah.
I saw a great example of someone on LinkedIn who posted, and I don't remember who posted it or why, but it was an intern who was having an upcoming, or she had applied to a job at a company, and she created a video and tweeted it and called out the company in her tweet, and they saw the video and they brought her in immediately. And I'm pretty sure that it worked out that she got the job because she had created this video about how she could add value to this company. And that to me was like, wow, that is so out of the box and so amazing. If that happened to me, I'm like, oh yeah, because one of the things that I love is someone who could think out of the box.
Yes.
You do that to me. If you sent that to me, I'll be like, you're in like Flynn.
So, hey, if you're interested in learning and development and you want to work for Genesys, you've got Cathy Rowell here. She's hiring. Be creative. Use video. I don't get it either. I mean, because everything is online now, and because people are, I won't say exploiting, but exploring LinkedIn for clients, for hires. The only way we can get a sense of who someone is, other than that resume, that literally black and white resume, is through video. So why aren't more people using it? I mean, there's native video on LinkedIn. You can apply for LinkedIn Live, which is what we're on right now. They, talk about positioning yourself as a thought leader. If you can get live and be talking about what you're passionate about and work, and bring in and interview folks. There's even video in stories. So there's so many different ways to add video to your profile. If you want to be hired, Mario says, I do. If you want to be hired, why wouldn't you use video, people?
Yep. Yeah, that would certainly get my attention as a hiring manager if I saw something like that. So, I think though too that our recruiting systems are a little bit archaic, right? So we all, you go to a company's website, they ask you 25 different questions, then they ask you to upload your resume, which has all the answers to the 25 questions anyway.
And they're all the same.
And they're all the same, depending on, if you go to Genesys, you go to some other company, the questions are similar. There's no way for you in that to be creative and to bring your authentic self. So that's when, if you're a job seeker, that's when you go out. How do you find out, do some sleuthing? Who is the hiring manager here? How can I find that out? Do I know anyone there? It's really incumbent on, I think, the applicants to be out there finding out about this and then reaching out and saying, oh, yeah, that's the person, I'm going to reach out to them directly. I haven't had a lot of that either.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this publicly online. I think so. My husband was getting ready to shift positions from a big company to a bigger company. And he noticed that a lot of recruiters were looking at his profile, and one from a company that he wanted to work for. So he did that. He just did the sleuthing, just like you said. He went and found out who the recruiters were, who the hiring managers were, who might be instigating this search. He found them on LinkedIn. He invited them to connect. He started noticing a lot of them viewing his profile back. And then the recruiter kind of dropped the ball. So he reached right out to the hiring manager and said, hey, your recruiter reached out to me. I'm interested. And it's crickets over here. What happened? And the hiring manager was like, no, we're super interested in you. And I'm going to like smack that recruiter for dropping the ball on you. And because of his persistence using LinkedIn, he got the job. So I would encourage anyone who is out there, do your research. Don't be afraid, like you said, to reach out to the hiring managers. Don't be afraid to engage with them. If you can send a video, oh, by the way, once you're connected, you can also send a video message on LinkedIn. It might be a great way to give people a sense of who you are, but also show them, you know, you're willing to do the work. Because he was selling himself. He's a sales guy. He was selling himself.
Yep. Perfect. I love that QR code or clickable link. I love that.
Yeah, QR code. I love it. I love it. But Andre, you're not looking for a job. You're staying with us. And our friend Mary, also a LinkedIn expert. You know, she loves the video resumes. So more.
That's great.
Yeah,
I think, you know, just to kind of think about everything together is if you're hiring and you're trying to do this remotely, be your authentic self.
Yes.
And that's one thing. Try and make the person on the other end feel comfortable, right?
Yeah.
This is about building a relationship.
Absolutely.
Make sure that not only can they do the job, that I can teach anyone pretty much anything. So if you basically can spell and write words, I could teach you the other things. But are they a cultural fit for you and your team? Those are the critical things. I think that you really need to do your research as a hiring manager, as I've mentioned, but as an applicant also do your research. I don't see that enough, to be honest. So I think those are the big takeaways.
No, I agree 100%. And I think companies, they need to be sharing more about their company culture, because it's just a waste of everybody's time when you get candidates who aren't going to be a fit. So why not share what your company is like? You know, are you single focused, hardworking, no nonsense? Awesome. Are you, you know, we meet every Friday and play games online? Awesome. You know, companies will attract the right candidates if they share what kind of culture they are. And similarly, candidates, don't be afraid to show people who you are. Yeah, you might not be the right fit for this company, but Cathy or someone like her who's smart and knows how to do that kind of research might find you and realize you're the unicorn that she's been looking for. And so I think it's so crucial for both parties to be authentic and express who they really are and what they're really wanting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And ask about the culture and tell about the culture, right? And be honest.
Be honest. Don't pretend you're something you're not, because you'll hire the wrong people.
Right, exactly.
Or you'll get hired and be like, man, I hate my job. And 6 months later, you're looking again.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And now I have to find someone to replace you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Culture can make or break it.
Right.
If it candidate is a fit. Exactly, Mary. So now let's talk about you a little bit. We got a couple more minutes here. It is unusual for a woman to have such a high position in technology. What is the secret to your success?
Wow. So when you sent me this question, I had to really think about it, because I never really thought about that. I was like, wow. As a woman, I guess I hadn't really thought about that. I like to do my job, and I kind of am good at it. So I just keep going. I've had some great managers, to be honest with you. And I've been very lucky in that regard. So the boss I have now, my manager, I have been with him for 9 years. So we're a team. I tell everyone, you know, back to the dinosaur comment, I'm too old now to break in a new manager. So wherever he goes, I go. I've literally followed him 4 times. That could be a big deal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that has been a huge a huge success point for me, is having
Yeah.
great managers. But the other thing is that I'm not afraid to speak my mind a little bit. That could get me in trouble, but I'm not afraid to. And I think part of it, and Mario and I were talking this morning in LinkedIn messaging, thinking outside the box, right?
Yeah.
Coming up with innovative solutions, trying to break traditional processes, don't think about the way things always have been. Think about how they can be done and how it can be done better. So that's been really helpful for me, I think. And I love to learn. I love to hear from others. I love to have these kinds of conversations. So I think those things have all been great for me. And again, I never really even thought about the fact that here I am in this position, kind of by accident. Some of you who see my LinkedIn profile will know I'm an accidental everything, all into it. But I'm here by accident. I never really actually even considered it, that the fact that I'm a woman as a VP, and it's a very interesting question, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and it's sad that I had to bring it up and pull it out. And, you know, we're fortunate. We had Hang Black, who's got a very high position, obviously, at Juniper. Seismic hires a lot of high-powered women. But if you I was being interviewed the other day, and over at Digital DFS, I can't remember what it stands for, but sorry, DFS. But Melinda was saying, Melissa, was saying it's crazy. They go to these meetings, back in the day, they went to the meetings, went to the events, and there was like no other women in the room that, that had her position. And it's crazy that in 2021, that's the case. So I love what you had to say, thinking outside the box. When Mario actually wrote an article just recently, and you took risks, obviously, to be where you are. And I think that's just what we have to do. Keep taking risks, keep thinking outside the box, keep finding those good mentors and managers.
Yep.
If you're lucky enough. But thank you for being an inspiration. Congratulations again on the growth over at Genesys. That's fantastic. You. And any final, we're 1 minute over, any final words of advice?
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot in a short time, and I'm really happy to have been here. So thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who was on our live. Really appreciate it. Again, we have Cathy Rowell, VP of Global Partner Programs and Enablement. That's a mouthful, at Genesys, talking about remote hiring. So if you are in a position where you're hiring people, make sure to listen to the recording of this, because she dropped some truth bombs. There's some really good stuff in there. And thank you so much, Cathy. Really appreciate having you on the call today.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.